Good evening. We thank you again for joining us on Choices. You know, we really appreciate the fact that you take the time out every week to view this program. You give us wonderful feedback when you meet us in the supermarkets, on the road. And at this point in time, I want to say a special good evening to my friend outside the Scotiabank on Robb Street. We really appreciate the fact that you are with us. We understand that you like to listen to what we say, and we value that. So we say stay tuned and let us have another wonderful program tonight.
This evening we would like to continue our discussion we started last week, and we want to specifically focus on the whole concept of self-control and the significance of self-control. From the inception, we would like to note that as human beings, we are all born with inherent dignity. We all have dignity, and therefore it is important that we recognize that because we have dignity, we should not sell ourselves short. We should not succumb to the prevailing excitement in the world, notwithstanding that we recognize that we all have passions and desires, lots of things that we would like to do, but then it is important that we demonstrate self-control. You know, this concept, self-control, is a biblical concept. You know, it's found in Galatians, where it is referred to as a fruit of the Spirit, and therefore it is something that we need to cultivate as a human being. As we cultivate self-control, we will save ourselves from a litany of problems and the issues that will affect our lives. As we demonstrate self-control as a concept, it is critical to our personal development, to the fulfillment of our purpose. All we have to do is to be patient, because in the fullness of time, as we demonstrate this concept, we will be successful and we will achieve. Gentlemen.
This is such a powerful topic that we are about to examine, explore. The wise man gave some thought to this issue, this situation. And he said, a person without self-control is like a house with its doors and windows knocked out. Proverbs 25:28, the Message Bible. So if you want a visual of what the absence of self-control is, or the lack of it is, it's like a house that had windows once and had doors. You no longer have windows, you no longer have doors, just a house. So, you know, that house will be open to all the ravages of the weather, whether it be sun, rain, snow, whatever. Little boys pelting, there's no defense. When you do not have self-control, you are defenseless as a person. It has nothing to do with whether you're educated or not, because there are lots of people with degrees. You know, I have a friend in the Philippines, Dr. Chris, who said to me, he has just 5 PhDs. He says, generally I have a fever. Because of all these degrees, I'm always hot. You know, generally said, I have a fever. But degrees and certification and high-flown jobs, they are not really indicative of self-control. You could have those things. Lots of those folks. There are people who have no self-control. So the whole idea is, if we could instill this in our children from the earliest possible time, you know, we would be able to lighten up. There's a lot of heavy weight around this country, and the enemy is pushing us in that direction. So you hardly get a chance to breathe in Guyana. You notice? As soon as you survive one wave, here comes another one. So we got to learn how to lighten up and bury things that should not be it should not be overwhelming us like this.
I will lighten up because I have something to say. I will say that I know a man who has 5 PhDs. 5 PhDs. Earned PhDs.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. There are so many things that is happening in this nation that we can have good reports about. But it seems as though when bad comes, or rumors of bad, that is what takes center stage. Let us learn to report good news.
Bishop, you spoke just now about self-control. But self-control, we must put discipline here. And in Proverbs 29:17, discipline your son, and he will give you peace. He will bring delight to your soul. Discipline, we would say 2 types of discipline. There's a discipline that your parents would discipline you at home. And when you go to the military and they find you indisciplined, they put the next discipline on you. So when you finish there, you fall.
Well disciplined.
Well disciplined.
Like somebody says about government, like the highest form of government is self-government. And that is where the discipline starts. You have to discipline yourself. There are some people who would allow themselves to be taught, not finding out for themselves what is right or what is wrong. I like knowledge, and you can teach me anything, but there are places that you can go, that you can expand any information that you receive, and we need to start doing that.
I think when God made us all, He made us as free moral agents. However, embedded in us is the responsibility to be able to govern self. And like you rightfully said, Bishop, I'm thinking about this house without windows and doors, and in a Guyanese paradigm, I'm thinking of free for all. You know, when we allow ourselves to become so indisciplined that we cannot control ourselves, you know, we are not just harmful to ourselves, but we become harmful to society. Allow me to use this analogy. When we are sick and we visit the physician, he or she may prescribe some form of treatment. And what happens is that we follow that treatment to the letter. Why don't we take the whole sack of tablets or that bottle or of liquid that is prescribed for us and drink it one time?
It will solve all the problems.
You know, we follow the letter. So why in the same way can't we allow ourselves, when we are faced with circumstances that threatens our moral being and our character, to bring that form of discipline into being, that we you know, I can't do this because I don't know what might happen in the future.
In every sphere of life, you know, Reverend, you probably can make a comment on this. In every sphere of life, we can identify people who behave like chameleons. The chameleon.
Yeah.
The chameleon has a special ability to do what?
Change, to morph into the environment, to change.
Good. We would like to encourage parents to watch at your offspring and to look for those who begin to practice this art. We'd like to encourage professionals to observe your colleagues. There are some people who are bent on mischief, but they're chameleons. You could, except you're observing them, you wouldn't be able to see when they morph, I like the word, when they morph. And it's a very subtle thing. As they go towards achieving some objective they have in their mind. We have to challenge. I remember the days when I went to work. As soon as you got the job, the senior people would call you, somebody would call you and say, listen, young man, this is the rule of this office, blah, 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 this is the rule of this workshop, blah, blah. And so like you were adopted into that fraternity. Now, I am not too sure what happens. And in every such environment, you have these chameleons. They have their own objective, and they are constantly changing, constantly morphing, but we need to be vigilant so we can spot them early before they create problems for all of us.
You know, one of the things, Pastor, about the chameleon,
Yeah.
I'm happy you brought that up. I think the chameleon uses that morphing ability, that ability to blend in, for perhaps two purposes. If it's hunting, it's prey. It has the ability, as it's hunting, whatever it's hunting, it can blend in so its prey will not be able to spot it. Secondly, if it's about to be discovered, it has the ability to blend in for defensive purposes. So this whole morphing is not just morphing for the sake of morphing. It's morphing when you're hunting and morphing to prevent discovery.
Oh my God, they are chameleons in the workplace. They are chameleons in the schools. They are chameleons in the churches. Oh my God.
Pastor, allow me, I think a Saturday ago, I was privileged to be a part of a men's prayer breakfast. And you were the guest speaker, so the point I'm about to make, I actually got it from you. You made 3 observations, and among them, you pointed to the fact that you and I, all of us, must always find a place to have an understanding of ourselves. But without that understanding of yourself, self-government becomes difficult. And as we continue this discussion on self-government, self-discipline, I believe that lots of times we allow ourselves to become, out of the same history of morphing, become what others require of us, rather than becoming who we really are. And that becoming who we really are is simply because we haven't quite discovered who we really are. For if we really understand who we are, then lots of the traps we find ourselves in, we are not going to allow ourselves to become susceptible to them. Because we have been, I am made different, you made different. Therefore, you don't have to become. You don't have to do what the society is doing. You don't have to do what the group is doing. You don't have to do what the gang is doing. You can surely be different.
But Pastor Sano, while that is so, Scripture reminds us that by the fruit you will know them. And so when we, like the tea bag, if we take that tea bag and we put it in a cup of cold water, the characteristics of the tea bag will not evolve. But if we put it in some hot water, we will get an aroma that is pleasurable to us. You understand? So when, as individuals, we find ourselves in certain circumstances, we see the true nature of the individual evolving, coming to the fore. And like you rightfully said, while we must understand who we are in order to address those issues and to be better positioned to help others, we cannot be like what you say, the comedian or whatever he is, evolving from one in one. And I like what Brother Hudson also referred to, right? Being defensive and at the same time trying not to be detected in that situation. And so many times we find ourselves behaving in either way. Yeah, we gotta be careful.
That's why I think in the case of the chameleon, that individual is not seeking change. That individual is a predator. Is seeking to become a prey. And but not everyone desires to be a prey. And that's why, I think it was earlier, I think it was Reverend Hudson, something was making the observation about the power of God in the life to make the difference. And I want to suggest that if there's going to be any major change in our lives in terms of self-government, God must play a part, significant part in that.
The issue of being a prey, defenseless, not able to protect oneself, wholly trusting someone, believing that that person will protect, but that person does not protect. That person now becomes aggressive and goes into the hunting mode, becoming a predator. We see this on National Geographic and Animal Television, whatever his name, where a lion moves into, a lion is majestic, but when the lion becomes a predator, begins to hunt, you see how savage he becomes, or can become. As humans, we have those same kinds of characteristics sometimes. And we have been built, however, that family and institutions like church, school, scouts, guides, they're there to protect the vulnerable from those who are predators. And society, we've got to make up our mind what we want. And like in the family, you know, I'll tell a story of a young lady who went home and said to her grandmother and mother, I'm being pursued by a gentleman. And I'm not too sure what I should do. They came from a depressed part of the city, the southern part of the city. And the grandmother and mother sat her down and said, listen, who is the man? And she described the man. He's bright, he has a job, he has a car, and you know, he has lots of resources. And you can't even imagine who I'm telling you about. You know, it's not a recent situation. And you know what those two people said? The mother and the grandmother said, Joel, you see in this house here, many days we ain't got food. God don't come, but he sent. So what they were doing is opening up this defenseless human to be savaged, all because their game plan was the survival of the fittest. We have to have, what will help in that situation, we have to have a set of values that will hold us. And those values, they are more powerful when they're biblically driven, when they connect to the inside of the individual. And she told me this story. I couldn't believe it. There was a movie called For a Few Dollars More, starring Clint Eastwood. Well, there are very many families driven by that kind of philosophy. We will do what we have to do if we could get a few dollars more. So it's a complex issue. But what we're saying, we need to have not just self-control, but discovery, self-discovery. When you discover yourself, you are in a better position to then leverage your character in every situation.
I think it gives us the opportunity to look from whence we came, the value that God has placed in us. If we don't understand that, we sell ourselves short. We do whatever we have to do or we're encouraged to do to really survive. God has made it clear that He will provide for us. And an individual without God in their lives, and this is the serious part of the whole issue. Discipline and self-discipline is two different things, right, Brother Millie?
Speak up, sir.
Good. So if you are being disciplined, means you're getting external instructions. But when you decide that you will do something, it means you're taking responsibility for everything that you pursuing, you want to do. And that is where every individual should come to that place to understand that I have to be responsible for what I think, what I say, what I do. And if we don't come to that place, we'll be led from the outside. And that is where we can find ourselves.
Here it comes to the application of what you know and what you learn. We have teachers here, and they will tell us that you try to bring out, or the student has to show the application of the subject area so that they can get the necessary grades. Now we are sending our young people, we send them to various institutions. The head of it is the number one is school. And we send them with our values. In Guyana, the majority are Christians, Hindu, or Muslims, and we are people who go to church. Most of us. Now what happened to the values that comes from these books, these sacred books that we use? When someone wants to infiltrate these values, what do? Keep quiet? No, you cannot be quiet. You have to apply what you learn.
And we have to stop making people who are not victims, who are not responsible for initiating a whole set of problems. We have to stop making those people victims. The perpetrators, the people who commission wrong, we have to deal with those people and stop trying to find other people and get them in the loop. You know, if I'm a cowboy and I go into, let's say the cow that is branded 15, and I'm going to lasso that cow, I can't go and lasso a whole set of other cows and say, well, they were in the vicinity. We have to get the one that we targeted.
That's right,
You
that's
know,
right.
and here in the family, all of these things, we are pleading for family time, where parents will stop being tired and will start dealing with issues. Where parents will then raise issues, a wide range of issues. Parents are uncomfortable discussing issues of life, and their children are suffering. And they want to ask, but daddy is a trellis. They want to ask a question, but daddy will become like a pressure cooker in the house. So they decide they're going to be quiet and suffer in silence. A young lady may need some direction. Is this thing right? Could I talk to you, mommy? You know? And mommy comes and she, you know, implodes. We have to allow our children a hearing before their problems. Listen to them. You know, parents are too tired and too busy. Our number one task is to nurture those little ones. And even when they are teenagers, they still need nurturing, they still need our attention. Of course, they challenge you and tell you what you're doing, your whole time-ish and all that kind of thing, but you must find a space to get your word in, get your value in. That's the only way. When they are out of our sight and the hot water comes, we want the real character to come out that will protect them, that could influence the environment, and will change every mode which could expose them to be destroyed.
You know, Bishop, I really appreciate what you've said there just now. It is against that background we have started a series of what we call town hall meetings, where we are addressing parents on issues in relation to parenting and how they could actually get their children to to do well and to perform in school. And sometimes it's amazing the concept that some of our parents have with respect to parenting. One gentleman said that if for example, if the ministry could provide buses, for example, in a particular area, the children will be less exposed to drugs, and so I was trying to make the connection to drugs and to music and so on that will cause them to go astray. And I said to him, yes, these things are on the cards. We have a responsibility to do certain things to move education forward. But it was shocking to know that a comment like that, in other words, person was suggesting that another group of people take on the responsibility of parenting. So I said to the gentleman, I said, for example, my son or daughter will know that there is a curfew time, you've got to be home at a certain time. If I do the right kind of training in my home, they will see the drugs and pass the drugs. So you don't need a bus to divert your child away from. So we really need to do some serious work on parenting.
This is, parenting, I think, is the key. And for those who have already passed the stage, we have to find a way, and this is where colleagues, friends, we have to become a collective watching over destructive behavior, watching over advantage and all those kinds of things, watching over this chameleon trying to move. You know, when folks, some parents, are seeking to put the responsibility on others, look, okay, let's use the example. Let's get buses to pick up children up. The driver could be the drug dealer. They want to protect them from the drug dealers on the street and the corner. Next thing you know, the driver is a drug dealer, the pimp, and a whole set of other things. How are you going to protect our children? We have to teach them in our home to recognize any such behavior coming from anyone, and we need to have a feedback where in our homes, this is long before police and investigation, we have set the stage to protect our own. We have to have conversations again. Sunday and dinner, they should become an opportunity for parents to interact with children. We're too tired, we're too busy. We have an assignment to raise our children by ourselves. This is Choices. We'll see you next week.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celacia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.